You're listening to the WADT podcast. I'm Parkson and my co-hosts for today are Hafiz, Kevin and Shufan. Welcome, Shufan.
Hi.
Our children are not moving enough, not sleeping enough and eating too much. Although it has not reached crisis level, there are reasons to be concerned and the government saw the need to come up with a 24-hour activity guideline for children and teens. Is this a hot potato? Well, we think so, and therefore we are discussing it today. Hi, everybody, and it's going to be a very interesting subject. In fact, 3 subjects that we're going to be talking about today. So let's begin with each, shall we? And Shufan, you have young kids. How do you control what your kids eat, how much they eat and things like that? Do you have any kind of regime or do you have any guidelines that you follow and you give to your kids?
I think when they were younger, so before they started school, was a bit more conscious of when they eat their meals. So, and especially when they are younger, also they get hungry quite quickly because they eat less but more frequently. And so sometimes besides their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they also get like a morning tea or an afternoon snack. Between those main meals. So I am pretty rigid in terms of making sure that they eat all their vegetables during their meals, whether they like it or not. They don't have a choice. And if they cannot, and if they see that they're too full, I always tell them that, okay, minimally you have to finish your vegetables. So they kind of know that, that's mommy style, like, okay, you got to finish all your vegetables. And so they do. And they get their fruits every day as well. Either usually as a snack or just after their meals. So the children are pretty good when it comes to getting the healthy food into their bodies. I try and make sure that there's a good balance as from the snacks or when they go out for parties. They don't indulge too much on fried food or oily stuff or processed stuff.
Wow, that's great. So I presume they're not overweight.
No, my children are not. They're actually, as babies, they were really, really chubby. Especially
they call it baby fat.
Yeah, but now like my boys are just tall and skinny, and I always ask them like, where's all the money that I used to feed you? Like, it's all gone.
Gone down the drain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait till the growth spurt. You'll be surprised. Kevin, you have older kids, I think, and so how are they? Are they, still eating as much or even more?
Yeah, my kids are slightly older than Shufan's kids. But we also instilled a discipline of eating their veggies to the point that now they don't question anymore. So what we do since young, we just give them a portion of veggies. That's it. In fact, we try to educate them. We try to keep it up with it, but it's very hard. Like 5 portions of fruit and veg, right? And we tell them the portion is the size of your fist. So they look at their fist and but we just give it to them anyway.
It's one mouthful.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm thankful that we got that discipline in when they were young. So now when we put the veggies on their plate, I mean, they may not like it, but they don't complain. They just down it, Yeah, sometimes we get the occasional, kind of thing. Then we just give them that stare, and then okay, just eat it, kind of thing. Yeah, they know it's good for them, Yeah, fruits wise as well. I think that's the other thing that we try to balance in, to give them at least 1 portion of fruit every day, either through eating kind of fruit or through juicing. That's another way we try to squeeze it in, just some fruit intake.
Yeah. And you were telling us that one of your children have skin problems, and so for that child you need to really have a very specific kind of diet. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Actually, 2 of them, Paksan, but my younger
2 of them.
Yeah, but Hannah and Timothy both have eczema. Hannah had it really bad at one time, where it disrupted her sleep, which disrupted our sleep as well, and so we found out that one of the ways to control the eczema was the diet, through her diet. So we kind of watched what she ate. We put her through a series of tests, and we found out that she was allergic to X number of things. So we tried our best to avoid such things. And sadly, I would say sadly, one of her high allergens is soy. So she can't eat anything like chiu ting, like soy sauce is one of the very staple in Asian cuisine. Yeah, so like meat chicken rice cannot put the sauce. You know, like go to hawker center, order the zita vegetables, can ask them cannot put soy sauce kind of thing. So a lot of it cannot soy sauce. Yeah, so we've gotten used to that already, so to speak. And then came my third one. He's also got a different range of allergies as well. So we have to be mindful of what they can eat or cannot eat. Yeah, so just have to adjust accordingly. But yeah, thankful they're well and they're coping. For our listeners who are struggling with their kids to give their kids veg. So one of the few strategies that we had, right, was to mix the veggies, like dice some I learned from some other parents, they diced it into really small or they blend it in such a way, then they cook it with some other things, you know, so like they make like a meatball, but they slice and dice the carrots and the thing inside there. So when they eat the meatball, they don't really taste the veg. So they kind of like hide the veg in there. That's one way. Another way which I realized recently is that, I mean, quite a bit slow, but then different veg got different tastes, right? And when we give our kids veg, right, sometimes the veg that we eat, we find that's okay, but actually it tastes a bit bitter maybe for the kids, but we actually introduce them to other types of veg, they may be okay with it. Why do I say that? Because my oldest one, for very weird reason, he likes bitter veg, like rocket lah, parsley lah, you know, this kind. He likes that, you know. So like, what kind of palate is that, you know? This time I realized, hey, maybe kids, right, when they eat a certain veg like broccoli or whatever, they taste that certain bitterness to it. But if you actually introduce a different type of veg, it may be actually palatable to them.
How about you, Hafiz? You have already adult children, but you know, when they were younger, what did you do? Were you concerned? Were you conscious about what they were eating?
Yeah, definitely. But of course, there always been challenges. You're right, Kevin. That from young, I also made sure that they eat their veg, because I know some parents or some of my friends, they don't eat veg, and it's because they say it's from when they were young, they're not used to it. In fact, my son-in-law also, all right, fall in that category. So now we are trying to change in him that, I mean, he's taking it in quite slowly, but not that easy. But for the rest of my children, of course, it's never been easy. It's always a constant reminder until today. But I think that does make a difference. And you're right, in terms of one of my kids also has eczema. And we sort of accept the fact that it is a lifelong condition. And not only doctors, but I think other people also advise me that the food is the one that can make a difference, especially avoiding processed food. So it's a blessing in disguise. You know, my daughter has to avoid processed food because she knows that if she does eat it, the effect is almost immediate. You know, and you know, it's like it's good for her health in looking in another way. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, in Singapore, there's a very interesting statistics. And in 2018, the National Nutrition Survey says that Singaporeans are consuming fewer calories. Okay, it means in that sense, on average, they're eating less. But interestingly, and on the contrary, Singaporeans are getting fatter. All right, 28% of Singaporeans are overweight and 10.5% are obese. Now, obesity is measured mainly using BMI. Okay, and anybody knows what's the formula for BMI?
Height divided by weight square, right?
It's the other way around, actually. Weight divided by height
square. Sorry.
Yeah, but you know, that is not a very accurate formula, by the way. Let me tell you why. Because weight itself actually has 4 components. You have, you know, your bones, you have your muscles, and 2 types of fats. One is the subcutaneous fat, and one is the visceral fat. Okay, so the weight itself contains 4 elements, and 3 of them are good. The more bones you have, the better. That means, you know, higher density bones. The more muscle you have, which is better. The more subcutaneous fat you have is better. The more visceral fat you have is bad. So out of 4, 3 are good. All right. So that makes the formula, you know, well, it's a simple formula, but it's not very accurate. Okay. So looking at your BMI alone is not the best way to gauge whether you're overweight or not. Okay. So I think what experts have come to say is, you know, besides watching your weight, watch your waist. And another thing I learned is that when a child enters puberty, all right, that means for guys, maybe anything between 11 to 13, right? And for girls as well. You know, something changes. People tend to think that, oh, he's a growing boy, he's a growing girl, so they need to eat more. Actually, the opposite is true. When a child enters puberty, their metabolic rate actually decreases by anything around 15%. Okay, that means your body actually consumes energy or uses energy, converts the food you eat to energy at a slower rate. And so in order not to put on weight, the best thing to do is to eat less, about 15 to 20% less than what you used to be eating. Then you can be sure that you will probably not put on weight. Moving on to sleep. Hafiz,
Yes.
how many hours did your kids used to sleep when they were young?
They usually sleep at about 10:30 and wake up at sometimes 10 and wake up at about 6 for school. So about 9 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, which I think is is barely enough. Because I think for kids, school-going kids, right, they have to sleep between 9 to 12 hours, according to some experts. So, I think it's very important for us to also create the habit. I think sleep, like anything, is about habit. And I think we also underestimate the importance of sleep. I follow this particular neuroscientist podcaster. His name is Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's an expert in terms of the brain, as well as he said that eyes is part of the brain. So if you take care of your eyes, you take care of your brain, right? So sleep definitely is when you rest your eyes. So he said that the best stress relief is sleep. Best trauma release also sleep. Best immune booster also sleep. And other things like emotional stabilizer also sleep. And he did give some advice on how do we get better at sleeping. And I think that we can also reflect whether our kids get all this. Number one is you need to view sunlight, right, by going outside at least 30 or 60 minutes of walking. So this is taken for granted because most of us stay in the office or at home, and he said that the homes, getting sunlight from the home and outside is different. You must go out. All right, even if you have a bright lighted room, the lumen level is different from the sunlight. And secondly, he said also that wake up at the same time as each day and go to sleep first before you start sleeping, getting sleepy. Sometimes these are, sounds common sense, right? But not many of us do it. And also, I remember he said that avoid caffeine within 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours of bedtime. All right. And also, he said that limit daytime naps. Also, this is something that I used to have to do my kids when they come back home. Usually they're tired, right? But the problem is they usually come back in the late afternoon. All right. So the best nap time it's mid-afternoon, actually, latest. So when they sleep at about after 4, after 5, actually it's not good. It makes you lethargic. While actually naps are supposed to make you energized, and not more than 90 minutes or not more than 30 minutes if you can. All right. And also at the end of the day, it's about keeping the environment comfortable. Because I think most of us may have our phone at the side, and this is what I think I did at the beginning when they had their phones, but it's not that easy to sustain, is to keep the phone out of the room. But sooner or later, as they grow, we also find it difficult to do it ourselves. And I think that's the problem also when we also cannot do it. Our children, how do we enforce it to our children? Okay, so for those young parents, you are still having young children, try to do this, and whatever habits you try to create, do it and stay by it for the sake of your children. Yeah.
Shufan, what time is your kids' bedtime?
Typically between 8 to 8:30. Yeah. So.
And they wake up in the morning. What time?
About 6:30.
6:30. Wow, that's at least 10 hours of sleep. Wonderful.
We try to.
Do they need a nap in the afternoon?
The younger two, yes. Although they could they could do without it, but I would notice them getting a bit cranky at like 5, 6 o'clock. So usually I'd try and give them a nap. But the older three, like what Hafiz said, by the time they come from school, they have their lunch, they finish their work, it's quite late for them to nap already. So I just try and make sure they get to bed early, just so they can get a good restful sleep at night.
Yeah. You know, a good book to read about sleep, you know, if you want to learn more about it, is title is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. He's a researcher, a scientist from UC Berkeley. That means the University of California in Berkeley. And he's one of the authorities on sleep. And, you know, he talks about, I just want to repeat what Hafiz talked about, you know, that we should go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, whether it's a weekend or weekday, all right? Because most people want to sleep in on a Saturday and a Sunday, right? And then they want to stay up late. And so basically what you have done is you have disrupted your body clock. And so when you try to go back to your routine on Monday, you know, and wake up, you know, early on Monday morning, you find difficulty. And then the rest of the day on Monday, you find very, you know, you're very tired, lethargic, and, you know, things like that. It's actually called a social jet lag. You know, it's almost equal to you travel over, you know, through different time zones. So your body is trying to play catch up. And so it's called a social jet lag. And so if you want to avoid that, you want to avoid the Monday blues, then one of the antidote for it is to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, 7 days a week. Yeah. How about you, Kevin? What's your sleeping habits for your kids like?
I mean, what helps is with building a routine. We try to get them in by 9, but that's a plan. But usually they only fall to sleep close to 10 o'clock. But I think what helps the kids to also wind down is the bedtime routine that we have. Yeah, so we will do devotions with the kids and pray with them before they sleep. So it's something that they know there's a routine that when that kicks in, they know there's time to sleep. But when we turn off the lights, we can still hear them chatting sometimes all the way to like 10 o'clock. So I'll have to go into the room and say, hey, stop talking already, go and sleep, that kind of thing. But it's nice that they're chatting with each other, you know, as siblings. But it just, I mean, I remind them, tomorrow you'll be cranky, so please go and sleep, you know, kind of thing. So they sleep from, let's say, when they really fall asleep at 10, and they wake up about 6:30. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Definitely. I think a bedtime routine is essential. I won't say even optional. It's essential. I talked to a father, and this is what he told me. He has, I think, 3 kids, you know, and when they were younger, this is what he did. He said, from the moment we finish dinner, my bedtime routine for the kids begin. I said, how do you do it? Number 1, I get them to change into their pajamas. Number 2, I begin to dim the lights in the whole house. All right, every room in the house, I'll fix a dimmer and I'll dim the lights gradually, you know. So over time, he dims it a little more. So it's simulating sunset. And, you know, our body clocks are actually based on the sun, all right, amount of light outside. Today we live in a modern society where we have a lot of artificial lights, and therefore our bodies actually gets confused. Is it nighttime already? But then the lights are still so bright, you see? And that's why, you know, we are more and more sleep deprived. So he says, this has always worked. And by the time it's bedtime, my children, you know, I have no problems telling my children, you know, it's bedtime, and they all already feel very sleepy. Okay. And so they don't put up any resistance to go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, but I'd like to comment about your friend's routine. While it's very special that he's simulating the sunset, but I feel that from experience and also from observing it and talking to other parents, it's very impractical, because you got do it, or impractical in the sense that it impairs on our social life. Because if you want to meet like for me, for example, if I meet my parents or my friends for dinner, we're going to come back after the routine. So how are we going to instill this daily routine or a frequent routine enough for the kids to get used to it? So the sacrifice will be, then my social life will only be kept to the weekends, for example, you know. So it really have to be a choice that you make in order to do that, because if not, then you cannot make dinner plans during the weekdays, you know. Yeah, things like that, you know. Yeah.
Well, you can still dim the lights and have candlelight dinners.
So, but then you can't go out with your kids with pajamas, what?
Okay, I get you. Yes, I get you.
So yeah. So it affects your social life, lah. So it's some things you have to decide what you want to do, lah, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Shufan, when your kids go to bed, do they fall asleep immediately, or do you struggle with getting them to actually close their eyes and close their mouths and stop talking?
It actually really depends on what they were doing before they go to bed. So for example, yesterday we had an afternoon out at Wild Wild Wet. They could barely get out of the car. They were so tired that they could barely get out of the car. I had to tell them, okay, you have to go up, you have to change, and you have to brush your teeth and go to bed. They would drag themselves from the car to the bedroom, and they're just ready to like plonk in. So on moments like that, when they're completely like tired and worn out and all the energy has been spent, getting them to bed is not a problem at all. It's like, whereas on other days when they've had most day at home, and they don't have much of the energy spent, and they do spend time talking to each other, then that's where I usually won't go in and tell them to stop talking, because I think that that's also another chance for them to bond as siblings. And it's just nice, I mean, hearing them talk about their day and like recounting whatever that's happened in their life, after the games that they're playing, or like their friends in school. And I think these bedtime conversations for them are also good. I mean, while my husband and I don't really know what's going on because we don't stay and eavesdrop on them, I think it's just nice for them to have these kind of conversations. But if it does get too late, then we will go in and like knock on the door and say, hey, you really need to go and sleep now. Because there have been times when they could chat up to like 10 plus, especially if they're so excited about what they're talking about. But I think that in this day and age, children's sleep has also been affected simply by the sheer number of activities that they have. After school activities, I mean.
And homework.
And homework. So I know some children finish their CCA at like 4 something or 5. By the time they get home, it's almost 5:30, and then it's in time you have to wash up, get ready for dinner, and then do your homework, and then whatever else, if you have enrichment classes and things like that, it just drags out really, really late, and it's just a vicious cycle, I feel. So I think that's really a huge challenge for parents nowadays, juggling timetabling and scheduling and yeah.
But I got a question, in fact, for all of us here. So you talk about homework, right, and sleeping, right? If just before bed, the kid says, I forgot to do my homework. Question, do you get them to, okay, you didn't do your homework the day because you played, the result is you stay up late and do your work and then go to school tomorrow? Or, too bad, go and sleep, tomorrow get scolding from school, from teacher. Which one would you do? Or, because, sleep is important, but yet, if you want to teach them responsibility, there's consequences and things like that. So what would you do?
Yeah,
just
for me, I do
I
try most of the time to do the second, but sometimes it's not possible, because I also think that if they really don't complete their work, they may not be able to sleep thinking about it. So I think looking at a situation, but I try a few times, in fact many times, to so-called make them realize that they should change their behavior instead of, they become a habit later of always delaying and procrastinating.
I think for me, I would get them to sleep first. So for example, yesterday they went out really late, and they were so tired. They came home, they said at homework. I said, no, you just go to bed first. If you really need to, you just wake up earlier the next morning. And I think waking up earlier is better than sleeping later, because it's just how, I mean, for me I feel that's just how their brains function a bit better when at least they've had a good night's rest, compared to if you were to prolong the night even later and they're really so tired, and the quality of the work that they produce will also be compromised on. So for me, it's sleep first. If you can't finish it tomorrow, too bad. You're going to explain to your teacher.
But on that note, waking up early means you also wake up early to wake them up.
Yeah, which is true, which is what happened this morning.
Of course, for some children, it becomes habitual to forget. All right, so they might need help to be more organized. Schools do give them a journal to record down whatever homework or assignments are given. Read this, do this, complete this. So if they're not recording it down, of course, chances are for them to forget is very high. So maybe certain children do not have that discipline and habit yet of just writing things down and believing that they can remember so many things, but in reality they can't. So they need to be helped to have a system where they have reminders, so that they don't forget. Great. Let's move on to movement. Right. Okay. A recent KKH survey of 100 parents of children aged between 5 and 14 years of age, began to show us quite interesting insights into how much our children move. Okay, so one of the things it says is that 43% do not engage. Now, these are children, do not engage in vigorous physical activity, while 32% do not engage in any moderate physical activity. So that is a reflection of the kind of sedentary lifestyle that we have. So Kevin, how much do your kids move? Are they very active?
They used to, but I think COVID kind of disrupted a bit of that routine. I think where we stay...
You mean they're not jumping on the sofa and things like that?
They're jumping on my bed, really. But that's not enough, I guess. No, I need to combine what Hafiz was saying. They cannot just jump on my bed in the house. They need to jump outside because the sunlight is different. Yeah, and it kind of ties in a little bit to what Fern was saying about what the kids did before that to the affects their sleep routine. Yeah, I realized that if my kids didn't go out to playground to play, they fall asleep. They take longer to fall asleep. So perhaps one consideration for parents, right, is that if my kids are not falling asleep quick enough, is it because they still got unexpelled energy? So another way is to go and get them to run down, bounce around the wall, so to speak, right? Then get them tired out, kind of thing, expend the energy. Higher chances they will sleep faster, they fall asleep faster. So for my kids, when we was living in the previous place, they could just go down to the playground and play, right? So certain time we tell them to just go down, and because we know the environment is safe enough, they can just go down on their own to play, and I'll go down in a while to accompany them. Yeah, so that was good. So we try to do that every day at least, to get them to go down. After their homework, they can go down. But now that we've moved, the playground is not so accessible, and it's actually there's across the road kind of thing. So I can't just I don't feel safe at least for now to just let them go on their own, because there's a road crossing. Yeah, so I tend to have to bring them, but still we try to clock in at least once or twice that they go to the playground, bearing the weather. Sometimes the weather really at the playground time is raining, so really can't go. Yeah. But we try to clock in at least once or twice of playground time a week if we can. That's for me. Once or twice a week, but the recommendation by WHO, and people like that, says that 1 hour of activity a day, all right, and about 30 minutes, if I remember correctly, should be vigorous. That means they should be panting and sweating. Yeah, so I don't do that. Yeah,
you don't do that, huh?
Yeah.
But do you let your kids do that? I mean, yeah, we should just let them loose and let them do whatever they want and come back sweaty and panting. I mean, I remember during my school days, that's what happens during recess. So it's a very short period, right? We get out of the classroom for recess, all very nice, neat, and our shirts are all white. But we come back sweaty, panting, our shirts are, have black patches.
Rely on the school's activity to give them that rigorous thing for now. Yeah.
But no, today's kids are different. Recess very, very mild. Yeah. How about you, Shufan? What do your kids do for activity on a daily basis?
So I think there is a difference pre-COVID and now post-COVID. Pre-COVID, a typical schedule in my week would be after lunch, my younger twins, the younger children would nap. And after the nap, I'd take all of them out somewhere to play. It's either a park or to a mall or to a library or to a swimming pool. So there's always the afternoon slot activity that they get to do. But then COVID happened and everybody, was brought indoors. Like the playgrounds were closed, the parks were closed. You weren't supposed to be out much. And so now I think our lifestyle has changed. And it's been hard. I think it's been hard. And also because my family is so big. So in terms of group sizes, when there were like 2 per pax, and then to go to certain places, you had to book tickets and all like that, and there'll be a cap on it. So it was hard to be able to maintain that upbeat lifestyle. But I think now, today, with the current restrictions that have been lifted, it is easier to go out, and I advocate a lot of movement in my children because I myself am a very outdoor person. So we'd either be at the swimming pool, at a playground, at a park somewhere. I used to Google like a whole list of playgrounds all across the island in Singapore, and so I would drive them to like Woodlands, Waterfront Park, I drive them to Admiralty Park, like Marsiling Park, drive them to Sembawang, Canberra Park, Tampines Park, Pasir Ris Park, West Coast Park. Like we've been all over the island just chasing playgrounds, and I think that's the wonderful thing about Singapore, that there are so many playgrounds available for free for children to play with. And at some of the playgrounds that we were at, I was wondering, like, where are all the children? Because some of these places were really, really empty, and I wondered, where are all the children? And I think in this current day and age, for me to be able to be at home with the children, that really is a blessing, because I recognize that there are parents who have to work, and so they do not have the luxury to bring their children out on a daily basis, to have that half an hour, 1 hour free time out at the park. And so it's very much confined to the weekends, when the parents don't have to work. And so that really is a trade-off nowadays. We're just trying to maintain the financial situation at home, and also trying to maintain an active lifestyle for the family. It really is very hard for parents nowadays just to juggle that, just wearing so many hats at the same time. So I think that's where...
Wow, so you can actually become a blogger and blog about all the playgrounds that you for your kids to, Well, not too late to start, just go around them again, and then you can start, maybe post it on Facebook or something. Yes, Hafiz, how about you? Were you a very active father, and because children model after their parents, isn't it, right? If their fathers are active, then they feel more motivated and they follow the example, and so the fathers will take the lead. Like nowadays, I see a lot of families cycling together. Well, that's great. How about yours? What did your family used to do together?
Yeah, very much. We have bicycles, rollers, not the roller skate, inline skates, the, what do you call it?
Rollerblades.
Yeah, rollerblades and whatnot. But I realized that, as what Sufan said, right, there are many other ways to entertain the kids, not with just these toys and tools. They will grow out of it. That's a problem, right? Usually toys and all these sporting equipment, they are suitable for certain ages, and realize that we need to keep on buying new ones and so on and so forth, and then it got wasted after that. So I really until today encourage my family to go out, all right, instead of just cycling is probably something which is so common in Singapore. We still, when they were teenagers, we still do go out as a family, but now they grow out of it. And we basically go to parks where possible, but we need to make it interesting, right? So even walking and shopping, window shopping has become part of our exercise, because where else, Singaporeans say, where else do we go? Shopping malls, Then we realized actually shopping malls are so crowded. Then we go to the park. Actually, the weekends, the East Coast Park, Pasir Ris Park, the most popular park, are so crowded. So where we go? To the really non-popular parks, and you will really be surprised. These parks are very, very interesting. All right, they are not as well, designed or what, but you get to see new things. So again, don't depend on technology. All right, that we are so used to, even equipment. But there are ways in Singapore that you can go around the cost of expensive outings and sports.
That's right. So there are many things to do in Singapore. Although I lived overseas for 10 years, and we lived at the foot of a mountain range called the Tian Shan Mountains. If you have heard of it, that's where the monkey god lives. But I've not seen him. Maybe he has moved. Anyway, so on the weekends, we'll take a drive, and without a map, I mean, I have never been to that place. So I just follow the road and see where it leads me, you know, and one time it led us to a very nice green, you know, grass patch next to a very slow flowing stream, you know, and across the stream, we saw a horse, you know, grazing. So we just laid out a ground sheet and had a picnic over there. Yeah. All right, a trivia. Now I'm wearing this step tracker. Any one of you have used this before? Any one of you are conscious about, you know, taking 10,000 steps a day? Anyone?
I mean, I also use it because the trick is to always use it. Then it does remind you, right? Not only of the goals that you need to have every day, but sometimes you sit too long. Right now, sit too long, like for 30 minutes. They will say, hey, you're sitting too long. So it helps. But again, it's about also not technology. But again, it does help.
It's a reminder, yeah.
Yeah.
No, instead of buzzing, it should send an electric shock to you and get you off. I have this question to you. This 10,000 steps thing, is it scientific?
I do not know. But yeah, people have been talking about it. I don't know.
Anyone can think of yes or no? Do you think it's scientific?
I have not done any research on this, but you heard about the 10,000 hours to become an expert, right? Practice, right? Actually, that one also actually is not really straightforward. Okay, it's how you practice, right? And some people need more, some people need less. So I think also it's also related to that. I think it's just a general guide.
Yeah, I think so too. I think 10,000 is just easy to remember. But I think the range, I read somewhere, I think it's 6,000 to 8,000 only actually. But 10,000 is just easy number to remember for everybody, 10,000. And personally, I do see a difference. Before COVID and stuff, and we were, I mean, I take the MRT and bus a lot more. We're moving about more. I clocked more at least 10,000 a day. No problem, right? But when COVID hit and everything and moved and everything, so I drove more, and so my steps count dropped to about 6,000 or so. Yeah, I could see it had a big impact on my weight. So I thought, oh, okay, really, the extra 4,000 steps a day actually does little bit like, you know, but yeah, in burning, getting you going, things like that. Yeah, I got all my kids the tracker as well, just a very cheap tracker thing. Yeah, just track, and they are, you know, they use it as a game. How many you got today? How many you got today? Kind of thing. Yeah, probably. That's one way to get them moving, lah. Yeah, I mean, also when you talk about going out and everything, it is true. Our Shufen can bring everywhere. It would be nice to. Can I put my kids with you, and then you take them with you as well? You know. Yeah.
She would need a minivan.
Or she drives a minivan. But if both parents are working, it has to be a very conscious effort to say, I'm going to come back early today to bring my kids out to the playground. I mean, while you bring out the playground, if you come down and bring the playground and it's dark already, in some sense you don't get what Hafiz was saying about the sunlight thing, right? And then you get them all worked up, you know, energy and energized just before bed, also not good for sleeping, kind of thing, you know. So it has to be optimal time of 5+6. That's the best time when it's not too hot and the sun is good, kind of thing. Yeah, but that will mean an intentional decision on the parent to come home on time to bring the kids down to the playground. So the encouragement would then be to make progressive, like, don't say, oh, every day I want to do that, but maybe once or twice a week, and then the weekend make sure you do that. So at least 3 times a week your kids get that, and then progressively do that, lah. Yeah. So start small, but at least start somewhere and start once a week at least for a change, lah, you know, for yourself and for your kids as well.
Okay, let me tell you where this 10,000 steps came from, how it originated. You know, the step tracker was invented by a Japanese guy. And so after he has created this product, he wanted to market it. And so he had to think of a name. How should I call this device? And so in Japanese, all right, he gave a Japanese name, and in translated to English, it's 10,000 steps. So from then on, it just got caught on, all right? And nobody really knew why. And everyone thought that, wow, 10,000 is a magic number. But Kevin, you're right. You know, if you can cover anything between 6,500 to about 8,000 or 7,500, or every day, or at least quite consistently, that would be enough. Okay, so don't yeah, don't be a perfectionist and say, no, I only got 9,982. Oh, okay.
If my kids do that, before bed, I say, oh no, got 10 more. Then on the spot, they jump, just to get the 10,000. Okay, can go.
No, just take off your watch and swing it. It counts.
That's not steps, Paksan. And you want to teach your kids to do that too, do you?
Yeah. Mentioning about Dr. Andrew Huberman again, the neuroscientist, actually he did say, according to his research, that humans need to walk. This forward movement is very important for your eyes. In fact, when you walk, it would help you in thinking. So definitely for me, if in morning walks, evening walks, whatever, and I even sometimes just walk, don't listen to podcasts, but it does, what it does after is really magic. Make you feel refreshed, make you feel, of course, more alert. And that's my own experience. And I thought it's very refreshing for us to also have that practice and habit with our children. Just walk. We have people who drive, right? We tend to, everything also want to be convenient, but for me, for example, I try to park, let's say, slightly far away. My habit actually is the opposite. Is to really park near to where I go, but it has to be intentional. And the least is I bring my folded bike, put inside my car, and then park somewhere far, usually free. There's the incentive, there's the reward, so that you don't have to pay the parking, and then cycle to where I want to go.
Yeah, walking also has other benefits. Like, if you are wanting to be creative, walking is a very great way of inspiring you to new ideas. Okay. Hafiz, remember the episode we did on rewilding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a movement now in America about rewilding. That means to connect again with nature. And so it suggests things like walking barefooted, all right, so that your feet actually touches the ground. And by ground, they're not talking about concrete ground or tarmac, but actual grass and soil and sand and gravel and things like that, And, doctors have also said that, because we walk a lot on level surfaces, paved surfaces, our ankles and joints are not as strong as compared to those who walk on uneven ground, because their ligaments have to be always working and strengthening itself. All right, wow, this is really something that we can go off on a tangent on. But yes, today we have talked about this hot potato called Eat, Sleep and Move. And if you have any ideas or any other suggestions for hot top potatoes, please contact us and let us know about it, and we will see what we can do about it. All right, so until the next time, bye-bye.